Think great motorcycles always come with big price tags and brand name hype? Think again. Some of the best rides out there are the ones nobody's talking about. Affordable, reliable, and often hiding in plain sight on the used market. These are the underrated machines that deliver real-world performance without breaking the bank. Stick around as we count down 10 motorcycles that might just be the best-kept secrets in the riding world. The Suzuki GSX-650F. Think of the Suzuki GSX-650F as the motorcycle world's quiet overachiever. Steady, reliable, and impressively well-rounded, yet rarely the star of the conversation. It flies under the radar in a market dominated by sharper supersports and aggressive nakeds, but for riders who value real-world usability over flashy marketing, it's an absolute gem. The heart of the bike is a 656 cubic centimeter DOHC inline-4 engine, borrowed from the Bandit 650 platform and refined for a smoother, more street-friendly personality. It makes about 85 horsepower and 58 pound-feet of torque, delivered through a well-geared 6-speed transmission that's silky at high revs but docile enough for daily traffic. Where some bikes demand high RPMs to come alive, the GSX 650F offers a flatter torquey curve and a more relaxed power band, perfect for city riding, backroad sweeping, or highway touring. Whether you're merging onto the freeway or rolling on through mountain curves, the throttle feels responsive but never twitchy. And unlike twitchy super sports with hair trigger responses, the GSX offers manageable feedback that builds rider confidence without sacrificing fun. Its ergonomics are another standout feature. The GSX 650F strikes a middle ground between a sport bike and a full tour. It gives you the clip-on styling and aerodynamic fairing of a race replica, but without the punishing low-slung riding position. The handlebars are slightly raised, and the seat offers all-day comfort without sacrificing connection to the road. This more neutral geometry relieves pressure on your back, neck, and wrists, something older riders or those doing long stints will appreciate immediately. The suspension is simple but competent. The front forks are adjustable for preload, and while it won't compete with premium sport suspension, it handles bumps, dips, and imperfect pavement with poise. Dual front disc brakes provide strong stopping power, and the 530-pound wet weight gives the bike a planted, confidence-inspiring feel. It won't dance like a featherweight, but it feels solid in the best way, especially in high-speed sweepers or when carving down a mountain road with gear strapped to the back. And then there's the value. Because the GSX 650F never quite earned the fame of its GSX-R siblings, it didn't develop a rabid fan base, meaning you won't pay collectors' prices. Used models in good condition often fall between $3,000 and $4,000, and because Suzuki built it with proven components, it's inexpensive to maintain. The inline-4 engine is known for longevity, parts availability is excellent, and you'll find plenty of online support and aftermarket upgrades if you want to personalize your setup. In short, the GSX 650F isn't trying to impress anyone. It just quietly does everything well. And in a world of overcomplicated machines and overhyped specs, that's a trait worth noticing. The Hyosung GT250R. At first glance, the Hyosung GT250R looks like it just rolled off a race grid. Its full-body fairings, aggressive twin headlamps, sculpted tank, and race-style tail section create an unmistakably sporty profile. Park it next to a Ninja 650 or a GSX R600, and most casual observers wouldn't know the difference. But under all that visual aggression lies a surprisingly approachable machine, powered by a 249 cubic centimeter air and oil-cooled 75-degree V-twin engine. It makes around 28 horsepower and just over 16 pound-feet of torque. Modest, yes, but more than adequate for everyday riding, especially when paired with its relatively low curb weight of about 375 pounds. Where the GT250R really sets itself apart from the rest of the entry-level crowd is in its size and presence. Unlike many beginner bikes that feel like scaled-down toys, the GT250R shares much of its chassis, dimensions, and even component layout with its bigger sibling, the GT650R. That means a larger fuel tank, a full-sized frame, and wider tires than you'd normally find in this displacement category. For taller riders or those coming from larger bikes, it's a breath of fresh air. It feels like a real sport bike, just with more forgiving performance. The 5-speed transmission is smooth, and the gearing is tall enough to cruise at highway speeds without the engine screaming for mercy. The The V-twin configuration delivers a throatier, more mechanical exhaust note than the high-pitched buzz of typical 250cc parallel twins. This gives the bike a unique character that stands out in a segment where many machines can feel indistinct. The power delivery is linear and easy to modulate, perfect for newer riders who are still learning throttle control, or for experienced riders who want a fun, lightweight commuter. Handling is another area where the GT250R exceeds expectations. It uses 41mm inverted forks up front and a preload adjustable rear monoshock, surprisingly upscale components for an entry-level bike. The ride quality is firm but not punishing, and the bike responds confidently to inputs whether you're weaving through city traffic or leaning into corners on a twisty back road. Dual front disc brakes add to the confidence, delivering better than average stopping power for this class. So why don't more people talk about it? Simply put, brand awareness. Hyosung, a Korean manufacturer, doesn't have the marketing machine or dealership footprint of Yamaha, Honda, or Kawasaki in the US. That unfamiliar badge makes some riders hesitate, despite the fact that the GT250R has been widely used and well-reviewed in markets across Europe and Asia for years. In reality, the build quality is solid, parts are reasonably available, and the ownership experience is often smoother than expected, especially for the price. If you're looking for a lightweight bike with the footprint and swagger of a bigger machine, the Hyosung GT250R offers rare value. It's a head-turner that's as much about confidence building as it is about making an impression. For those willing to think outside the big four brands, this is one of the most unique small displacement sport bikes on the used market. The Honda Shadow RS. The Honda Shadow RS is one of those rare motorcycles that dared to challenge its own category. While most cruisers are content to focus on low-slung style and lazy torque delivery, the RS quietly redefined what a cruiser could be, blending traditional V-twin charm with the ergonomics and agility of a standard. Produced from 2010 to 2013, it had a brief window on the market, and as a result, it often gets lost in the shuffle behind more recognizable shadows like the Aero or Phantom. But make no mistake, this bike is different, and that difference is exactly what makes it special. At its core is Honda's tried-and-true 745 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled V-twin engine, delivering approximately 43 horsepower and 47 pound-feet of torque. While those numbers may seem humble compared to today's muscle cruisers, the real story is how the RS delivers that power. With a broad torque curve and excellent low-end grunt, the bike feels lively off the line and holds a strong, predictable pull through the mid-range, ideal for both city cruising and spirited country rides. It's smooth, not thumpy, with a linear response that makes it incredibly easy to manage even for less experienced riders. But it's the riding position where the RS truly breaks away from the cruiser pack. Instead of the feet-forward reclined ergonomics typical of V-twin cruisers, the Shadow RS goes with mid-mounted pegs, a nearly flat seat, and wide handlebars. This configuration places the rider in a more upright and slightly forward-leaning posture, much closer to a standard or even a mild cafe racer feel. That makes a huge difference when it comes to handling. Whether you're weaving through traffic or tackling a set of backroad curves, the RS feels composed, agile, and light on its feet, words rarely used to describe cruisers. Adding to its practicality, the RS comes equipped with a shaft final drive, which is a standout feature in this price and size class. Unlike chain-driven bikes, the shaft system requires minimal maintenance, no lubing, adjusting, or cleaning, and offers clean, quiet, and consistent power delivery to the rear wheel. It's also equipped with fuel injection, which means cold starts are effortless, throttle response is crisp, and you won't be dealing with carburetor issues, even after winter storage. The chassis is compact, the wheelbase is shorter than most other Shadows, and it tips the scales at under 500 pounds wet, making it especially manageable for smaller riders, new riders, or anyone looking for a low-effort, high-reward machine. And visually, it nails the classic cruiser aesthetic with its teardrop tank, wire-spoke wheels, and clean lines. Yet its proportions and riding stance give it a more athletic, roadster vibe that sets it apart from the crowd. Despite all these strengths, the RS has always flown under the radar. Maybe it was too sporty for cruiser purists and too cruiser-like for standard bike fans. But that lack of mainstream appeal is now your advantage. On the used market, Shadow RS models are often overlooked. meaning prices remain low while supply is still solid. If you can find one in good shape, and you probably can, you're getting a bike that offers a unique blend of comfort, capability, and character that simply doesn't exist in most other cruisers. If you've ever wished cruisers had better handling, better posture, and a little more mechanical simplicity, the Shadow RS is everything you've been waiting for. You just didn't know it. The Moto Guzzi V7 Classic. If you've ever wanted a motorcycle that captures the style and emotion of a bygone era without the headaches that usually come with vintage machines, the Moto Guzzi V7 Classic is your answer. Built in the historic town of Mandello del Lario, Italy, where Guzzis have been made for over a century, the V7 Classic is steeped in heritage. But don't let the throwback look fool you. This isn't some fragile museum piece. It's a fully functional, everyday motorcycle that just happens to be wrapped in classic styling. Under the tank beats a 744 cubic centimeter air-cooled V-twin engine, mounted transversely across the frame, meaning the cylinder heads stick out to either side like boxer arms. It's a layout that's uniquely Moto Guzzi, giving the bike a visual and mechanical identity all its own. With about 50 horsepower and 44 pound-feet of torque, it's not chasing top speed records, but it delivers steady, predictable thrust that's perfect for laid-back highway cruising or darting through side streets. The engine has a pulsing, visceral character, and you'll feel a light torque reaction through the frame when you twist the throttle. Subtle, but soulful. It's the kind of bike you feel, not just ride. That power is transferred to the rear wheel via a shaft drive, a feature more commonly found on larger touring bikes like the BMW R Series or Honda Goldwing. This system requires almost zero maintenance compared to a traditional chain. No lube, no slack adjustments, no mess, and delivers a smooth, quiet, and consistent transfer of power. It's a detail that might go unnoticed at first, but over time, riders grow to deeply appreciate the convenience and cleanliness it brings. Weighing just over 400 pounds wet, the V7 Classic is nimble without being twitchy. Its narrow frame and low seat height make it approachable for newer or shorter riders, while still offering enough stability and substance to satisfy seasoned veterans. The handling is light and intuitive, especially in urban environments or twisty roads where flickability matters. Suspension is basic, non-adjustable in the front and preload adjustable twin shocks in the rear, but well-tuned for comfort and everyday use. But let's be honest, what truly sells this bike is the look. Every inch of it oozes vintage European style. The teardrop fuel tank is sculpted and adorned with tank badges that harken back to Moto Guzzi's 1960s lineage. Chrome fenders, wire spoke wheels, polished exhaust pipes, and a large round headlight give it a timeless appearance that stops people in their tracks. It's elegant without being showy, and nostalgic without feeling like a replica. Riders constantly report strangers walking up to ask what year it is, usually expecting it to be a classic from the 70s. Despite its curb appeal and brand legacy, Moto Guzzi remains a niche name in North America. That means fewer people seek them out, keeping resale prices surprisingly low, often thousands less than equivalent modern classic offerings from Triumph or BMW. And with Piaggio Group's support, parts and servicing aren't nearly as rare as some might assume. So, if you're looking for a bike that delivers rich character, day-to-day practicality, and a strong connection to motorcycling's golden age without sacrificing modern reliability, the V7 Classic is a quiet masterpiece. It doesn't shout for attention, but it earns admiration everywhere it goes. Kawasaki ZR7S. The Kawasaki ZR7S is what happens when a manufacturer builds a bike purely around function, durability, and rider satisfaction, with zero concern for marketing buzzwords or trend-chasing aesthetics. Produced in the early 2000s, it arrived during a time when super sports were stealing all the spotlight. As a result, the ZR7S never got the attention it deserved, even though it checks nearly every box for riders who want a solid, versatile, do-everything motorcycle. Beneath its understated bodywork is a bulletproof 738 cubic centimeter air-cooled inline-4 engine, a design rooted in Kawasaki's proven lineage going back to the GPZ series. This engine delivers around 75 horsepower and 50 pound-feet of torque, which doesn't sound outrageous, but it's the way it delivers that power that makes the ZR7S shine. Throttle response is smooth, linear, and forgiving. There's a rich mid-range that's ideal for overtaking on the highway or hustling through corners, and it never feels peaky or intimidating. It's a carbureted engine, old school in the best way, which means you get a tactile, mechanical feel that's becoming increasingly rare in modern motorcycles. The ZR7S is refreshingly analog. There are no rider modes, traction control systems, TFT screens, or electronic nannies. Just you, the machine, and the open road. Paired with a rugged 5-speed gearbox and a conventional chain final drive, the bike is as simple to operate as it is to maintain. The steel double cradle frame gives it a sturdy backbone, yet Kawasaki engineered the geometry to keep it flickable at low speeds and stable in sweeping turns. At 510 pounds wet, it's no featherweight, but the weight is carried low, and once in motion, the bike feels lighter than the spec sheet suggests. What sets the ZR7S apart from the naked standard crowd is its factory half fairing. This windscreen and bodywork combo offers just enough protection to make freeway cruising comfortable, especially when riding at sustained speeds. It doesn't add the bulk or weight of a full touring fairing, but it dramatically improves the ride over a completely naked setup. Combine that with its upright handlebars, neutral seating position, and cushy seat, and you've got a machine that you can ride all day without aches or fatigue. The practicality doesn't stop there. The ZR7S is a home mechanic's dream. Valve adjustments, carb syncing, oil changes, and air filter replacements are straightforward and accessible. Kawasaki didn't bury anything behind bodywork or proprietary electronics, and that means long-term ownership costs stay low. It's a bike you can wrench on in your garage without needing a laptop or dealership scan tool. And the icing on the cake? It's cheap. Because it never gained a cult following like the ZRX1200R or the GPZ series, prices on the used market are astonishingly low. You can find clean, low-mileage examples for as little as $2,000 to $2,500. That's a bargain for a middleweight 4-cylinder with touring ability, everyday comfort, and proven reliability. Parts availability is solid, and forums still exist with plenty of support from riders who know what kind of sleeper this bike really is. In a world where motorcycles are becoming more complex and expensive by the year, the ZR7S stands as a reminder that simple, well-made machines still hold tremendous value. Whether you're upgrading from a beginner bike or downsizing from a tech-heavy tourer, the ZR7S offers everything you need and none of the fluff you don't. The Honda NC700X and NC750X. Most motorcycles are built for thrills. The Honda NC series, on the other hand, is built for life. Whether you're riding to work, cruising across state lines, or just trying to save money at the gas pump, the NC700X and NC750X are designed to make practical riding not just easy, but enjoyable. Depending on the model year, you'll get either a 670 cubic centimeter or 745 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine, producing around 54 horsepower and 50 pound-feet of torque. It's tuned for torque down low, meaning you get usable power where you need it most, off the line and in city traffic. But here's where it gets really clever. What looks like the fuel tank is actually a weather-sealed storage compartment big enough to fit a full-face helmet. The real fuel tank is under the seat, helping keep the center of gravity low and the handling impressively stable. With fuel economy often exceeding 60 miles per gallon, these bikes offer scooter-level efficiency with motorcycle-level capability. Even better, you have the option of a dual-clutch transmission, DCT, which means you can ride without shifting at all. Perfect for commuting or for riders who want a more relaxed experience. The upright ergonomics, wide bars, and comfortable seat make it an ideal platform for long-distance rides, but it's just as happy navigating city streets. Despite all this practicality, the NC series never became wildly popular, mostly because it wasn't marketed as a high-performance machine. That's your gain. Used models are often found for under $4,000, and their legendary Honda reliability means they're built to last. It's the ultimate bike for riders who value functionality and want something truly built for the real world. The Suzuki TU250X. In an age of ever larger engines, touchscreen dashboards, and ride-by-wire tech, the Suzuki TU250X is a breath of fresh air, a return to the basics in the best way possible. With a 249 cubic centimeter air-cooled single-cylinder engine, it produces about 16 horsepower and 14 pound-feet of torque. That might sound modest, but in practice, it's more than enough for urban riding, backroad adventures, or even light highway use if you're not in a rush. It's the kind of bike that lets you enjoy the ride itself without worrying about lap times or lean angles. The TU250X shines in its simplicity. There are no complicated electronics or settings to adjust, just a fuel-injected engine that fires up reliably in any weather and delivers smooth, predictable power. The bike's lightweight steel frame and slim profile make it incredibly easy to maneuver. Weighing in at just under 330 pounds, it's one of the most approachable, full-sized motorcycles you can buy, making it perfect for new riders or anyone who wants a no-fuss experience. Stylistically, it's a charming nod to 1960s and 70s standards, with its round headlight, chrome fenders, and upright riding position. Despite looking like a vintage bike, it has modern components like fuel injection and front disc brakes, making it as easy to maintain as it is to ride. Changing the oil, adjusting the chain, or even removing the tank takes minimal tools and time. DIY riders will appreciate how accessible everything is. Best of all, these bikes are often overlooked on the used market, which means you can scoop one up for under $3,500 in excellent shape. It's not flashy, it's not fast, but it's endlessly lovable and might just be the most honest motorcycle you'll ever own. The Yamaha FZ6R. The Yamaha FZ6R is one of those rare motorcycles that manages to strike a perfect balance between sporty aesthetics and daily rideability. While many newer riders get drawn to full-blown supersports like the R6, the FZ6R quietly delivers 90% of the experience with far less effort and at a fraction of the cost. At its core is a 600cc liquid-cooled inline-4, derived from the older R6 engine, but retuned for real-world use. The result? A smooth, linear power band that produces around 78 horsepower and 44 pound-feet of torque, just the right amount to keep things exciting without overwhelming newer riders. Where the FZ6R really stands out is in its ergonomics. Unlike the aggressive clip-ons and high rear sets of a race replica, the FZ6R offers a more upright riding posture, wider handlebars, and a comfortable seat. That makes it ideal for commutes, weekend rides, and even long-distance trips. It's sporty without being punishing, more of a gentleman's sport bike, if you will. The chassis feels planted, the fairing offers decent wind protection, and the overall ride quality is impressively composed, thanks to a non-adjustable but well-tuned suspension setup. Tipping the scales at just under 470 pounds wet, it's light enough to be nimble, yet stable enough to inspire confidence on high-speed stretches. Yamaha produced this model for nearly a decade, which means there are plenty of clean used options on the market, often selling between $3,500 and $4,500 depending on condition and year. Because it lacks the race-bred reputation of the R6 or the raw aggression of the MT-07, the FZ6R tends to fly under the radar. But for riders looking for a sporty, versatile machine that doesn't beat them up on every ride, it's one of the best-kept secrets in Yamaha's lineup. The Suzuki DRZ 400SM. If you've never ridden a supermoto before, the Suzuki DRZ 400SM might just change your entire perspective on what makes a motorcycle fun. Based on Suzuki's proven DRZ 400S Dual Sport, the SM version swaps in 17-inch street wheels, sticky tires, and upgraded suspension for a ride that's equal parts dirt bike and road warrior. At just 321 pounds wet, it's featherlight. And it uses every bit of that advantage to carve corners, hop curbs, and wheelie like a hooligan. Power comes from a 398 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled single-cylinder engine producing roughly 39 horsepower and 29 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers may not seem high, but it's the immediacy of the torque and the bike's razor-sharp throttle response that makes it feel so lively. From urban alleyways to canyon backroads, the DRZ 400SM reacts instantly to every input. There's no lag, no hesitation, just snap and go. Suspension travel is long and fully adjustable, giving it the ability to soak up potholes, speed bumps, or even gravel trails with ease. And with dual disc brakes and a high-riding chassis, you'll feel like you're floating above traffic, fully in control. The riding position is upright and commanding, with wide handlebars and motocross-inspired ergonomics that make low-speed maneuvering feel effortless. The only reason it remains relatively underappreciated? It doesn't fit the mold. It's not a traditional sport bike, cruiser, or ADV machine. It sits in a class of its own, too weird for some, absolutely perfect for others. If you're the kind of rider who values agility, fun, and grin-inducing performance more than top-end speed, the DRZ 400 SM might just be your ultimate motorcycle. The Kawasaki Versus 650. Tucked quietly between Kawasaki's sport bike and adventure bike lineups, the Versus 650 often gets lost in the shuffle. But if you're looking for a do-it-all machine that doesn't scream for attention, yet delivers outstanding real-world versatility, the Versus is a total sleeper. Powered by a 649 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine shared with the Ninja 650 and Z650, it puts out a well-balanced 64 horsepower and 45 pound-feet of torque. The engine is tuned for usable mid-range grunt, making it ideal for commuting, backroad carving, and even light touring. But it's not just about the engine. The Versus 650 features a tall, upright riding stance that gives you excellent visibility in traffic and all-day comfort on longer rides. Its long-travel suspension handles poorly maintained city roads with ease and can even tackle gravel or fire roads without breaking a sweat. At around 460 pounds wet, it's light enough to feel nimble, yet stable enough for highway work. Its distinctive styling, a bit quirky, with a high-mounted front fairing, may not win beauty contests, but that's part of what keeps it underrated. Riders chasing trends often overlook the Versus, not realizing how well-rounded it is. The 17-inch wheels and upright geometry mean it handles like a tall sport bike, offering sharper handling than most traditional ADV bikes. Even better? Because it's never been a cult favorite, the used market is filled with well-maintained examples at bargain prices. For under $4,000, you can get a bike that's ready for commuting during the week and mountain passes on the weekend, with bulletproof reliability and cheap maintenance to boot. If you want one motorcycle that can quite literally do almost everything without being flashy about it, the Versus 650 is your underrated champion. You don't need to spend a fortune to get a great ride. Whether you're a new rider looking for your first upgrade or a seasoned motorcyclist wanting a reliable second bike, these underrated machines prove that value and performance still exist, if you know where to look. Sometimes the best bikes aren't the ones on showroom posters. They're the quiet legends sitting in someone's garage, waiting to be rediscovered. If you enjoyed this list, hit that like button, subscribe for more hidden gems, and let us know in the comments. Which of these underrated bikes would you take home?